This is episode number 173 of the Guns Magazine podcast. Hi there, and welcome to the Guns Magazine podcast, one of the shooting world's biggest gun talk programs. I'm your host and the editor of Guns Magazine, Brent Wheat. Thanks for joining us as we talk to the interesting folks who make up the world of shooting, hunting, law enforcement, and the firearms industry. Before we get started, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor, 4 Patriots. Let's face it, if you don't have electricity, you're living in the Stone Age. But with the Patriot Power Sidekick from 4 Patriots, you get a solar generator that doesn't need installation. It's quick, easy, and portable, on the go, or even inside. The Patriot Power Sidekick is small, about the size of a lunchbox, but it's powerful. Powerful enough for your phones, medical devices, or even a mini fridge. The setup comes with a free solar panel, free shipping, a 365-day satisfaction guarantee, and best of all, you get 10% off your first purchase by typing in the code GUNMAG at checkout. That's 4patriots.com. Use the code GUNMAG. I'd also like to mention our supporting sponsor, iPal. Here's a simple product for all iron sight shooters. Simply attach the static cleaning iPal peep sight to your prescription or safety eyewear on your dominant eye, and you get a focused sight picture. Plain and simple, this aperture resolves difficult vision issues. Go to iPal USA to get your kit today. And today, I get to talk with Mitch Rosen, the head honcho at Mitch Rosen Gun Leather. If you aren't familiar with Mitch Rosen Leather, you should be, because it's some of the highest quality leather holsters you can buy. In this episode, Mitch talks about the company, how he got started in the holster business, and the right and wrong things to look for when you're buying a holster. Now here's Mitch Rosen as we talk holsters. Well, good afternoon, Mitch.
Hi, Brent. How you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking time out from your undoubtedly busy schedule at Mitch Rosen Leather, your eponymous company that is very well known as some of the top flight holsters in the world. And our mutual friend Roy Huntington hooked us up, and I'm just really glad you could take time to talk to the Guns Magazine podcast.
Yeah, well, it's my pleasure. I'm glad Roy did that, of course. And it's a pleasure to meet you.
Well, it is a pleasure to meet you, and it's an honor that you would talk to us, because you and your company make some of the just best leather that there is out there. So let's start at the beginning. How does Mitch Rosen, who has an extremely varied background — I've heard about your musician days and a bunch of other stuff — but how did you end up making holsters of all things?
I lived in New York in Manhattan, and started shooting in South Jersey at a club, and this goes to around the mid-'80s. And I was new to handgun shooting at that time. I kind of started that late in life. And everyone talked about a particular manufacturer as to where to get a good leather holster. So I ordered one, and I waited several months, and it was pricey, which I expected. And when it showed up, I was excited. I opened the box and couldn't believe the holster that was in there.
Oh, no.
It really fell short of everything I thought it should be. And just to back up for a second, I do come from a background of manufacturing. I was in manufacturing with my dad for 10 years in Manhattan, and we made ladies' handbags. So I had an understanding of pattern making, sewing, and just about all of what went into making soft goods. Basically, they're all soft goods. And I was surprised, really disappointed. But that was about supposedly the best you could get. And many years later, I moved to New Hampshire for political reasons. And for one reason or another, I thought it'd be a good idea to try to make holsters and make the product that I think it should be.
Yeah.
And that's how I started. I started on the porch in a rental house in a small town in New Hampshire, and just kept going with it. And apparently we've been successful. I met people in the industry. I made a point of introducing myself to people in the industry and getting a sample off so they might see it as well, and hopefully appreciate it and write about it. And it did work out.
I would say
and that's
it did.
how I ended up. Yeah.
So you do everything from, of course, make your holsters. You even do OEM type work for other manufacturers. How big is Mitch Rosen at this point?
We're still a small operation. We have a small shop that's about 5,000 square feet, and we run about 10 employees, sometimes a few more, sometimes a few less, depending upon size, plus myself. My wife is in it, and we have a secretary and marketing people. Now we have a few marketing people. They're independents, but we do. They work with us, and that's just the past few months, actually.
Oh, really?
Because you have to do that. Yeah, you have to do it now. With the internet, you can't not do it.
Well, you kind of talked about how you evolved, but let's talk about the holsters themselves. How have they evolved, and what have you learned how you make your holsters so good now?
When I got into it, I decided I was only going to make one quality level, and that was the best. I wasn't interested in making. I was not interested in making a lot of price point items, which most of the things are. I wanted, and they had to be a functional, legitimate design, not just for the sake of making something new. Mm-hmm. We don't make new products just to have a new product to announce all the time. We make a good, tried, and producing products. When you think about it, there's only a few good ways to carry a handgun on your body. The belt holster is basically the best. Mm-hmm. Inside the pants is going to be most concealable, and for me, actually, most comfortable. Some people don't care for it for whatever reason. Then you have the regular belt holster in terms of angle or rake. There's two basic rakes. There's a muzzle to the rear a little bit, and then a straight drop or slight muzzle forward. The products that you see out there that give you an option of playing with the entire compass of angles have people playing with the angle and not practicing their presentations. And it kind of doesn't get you anywhere. Additionally, when you do that, you're adding parts and you're getting away from elegant engineering, which means the fewer the parts, the better. And that's what we try to stick with. So we have a fairly limited product line inside the pants, outside the pants, under the belt, but outside the pants, and shoulder rig and pocket. And I think that covers it.
Well, I find it interesting that a couple of things you said there. First of all, it sounds like you absolutely are a believer in the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. And I'll be the stupid one there.
No, you're absolutely correct on that. We have a very few interchangeable parts. A lot of the things I see today, I just refer to them as erector set holsters. Mm-hmm. They come with a bag of screws and levers and parts and pins and stuff like that. And, it's just, to me, doesn't make any sense. I'm sure they sell well. And everyone's entitled to sell a product, and the person buying the product needs to be aware. Some products are actually kind of dangerous. One that I find that I won't make, they call a small of the back holster. Mm-hmm. And I refer to it as a base of the spine holster. The original design was a fellow named Andy Aratunian, who was a holster maker in the UK. And it was designed specifically for airport personnel that were going to stand with their backs to the wall without a jacket on. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, that's how they had to do it. And you wouldn't see it if they were in that position. But other than that, if you fall on your back, which is possible if you get into a tussle, being on the ground is not unusual.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're done. It's basically like taping a rock to your back, to the base of your spine.
Wow. Well, you said something there that really caught my attention. I was just thinking about in my own life. You get a great Mitch Rosen holster, and you look at it, and you kind of fondle it, you put it on, you try it out. But so many holsters now come with that bag of screws, and you have to. When you have to read the instructions how to assemble your holster, that's a pretty complicated holster.
Yes, it is, and it's rigid, and it makes a lot of noise. One of the things I don't like about it, I worked as a deputy sheriff for 19 years. I worked part-time. I did a couple days a week. And we did a lot of home entries because there were a lot of landlord work involved. Mm-hmm. And the last thing on earth you want to do is telegraph where you are when you come in. And you draw, and it goes click, clack, 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 click.
Yep.
You don't want that. So you can't rotate it in the holster. They never break in. And an interesting thing about the material of Kydex was designed specifically to form very well under heat, but it was not supposed to actually flex.
Mm-hmm.
So you have something that's not comfortable and ultimately cracks, unless you don't use it. I mean, I think a lot of people buy holsters and put it in the drawer with the gun and they're safe, and that's it. So I don't know how much use is involved.
Well, and again, going back to that KISS principle, I agree with that philosophy that a single use or a more focused type of holster is a heck of a lot better than a holster that tries to be everything to everybody at all times and covers all the bases. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. We don't make combination holsters. First holster I ever bought before I was in the business was one that was a strong side and a cross draw, and it didn't do either one well.
Yep.
So what happens is you have to add material to add an additional slot to do an angle change. And when people ask for that, I would tell them simply buy a strong side and buy a cross draw if you need those two different functions.
Exactly.
And it's not about the money because honestly, they're not all that expensive. And I have people wearing the same holster for 25 years now.
Right.
And occasionally they'll send it in and say, can you spiff it up or something? So the combinations, we don't do that. With the exceptions are on an inside the waistband holster, the USD model, we do offer additional belt loops because they screw on. So you may want to wear it on a narrower belt or a belt of a different color. And that's important to some people, so we do offer it. But other than that, you're exactly right, single use. You want a cross draw, get a cross draw. And it keeps the design simple. It keeps the parts to a minimum, basically 2 parts. And it works out better in the end for people that are serious and have training and know what they're doing for carrying guns.
And, you said something about that really caught my ear, the idea that Mitch Rosen just doesn't come out with the new holster this year just to make last year's model obsolete. How do you resist that siren call? Because so much of the industry is embracing that model of we've got to put another snap or a little doodad on this and call it the new model, making the old ones obsolete. How do you avoid that?
Tell me about it.
I'm sure you've got consultants and you're telling you to do just that.
Well, on some level, yeah, people want to know what's new. And if something comes up that's really new, we'll do it. I've worked with a lot of different ideas. I've worked with magnets that will hold the holster from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
I have samples I made about 10 years ago of that. And there really isn't a lot. We have a specific rig that's for driving. We call it the CCR, the counter carjacking rig.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a radical cross draw designed specifically for being in a seated position, let's say in a vehicle or on a tractor or something, but not for general use.
Yep.
But people use it generally anyway, so we try to dissuade them from doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it works fine. I'll just take it with me and I'll go out. And it's not for that. It doesn't hide well. It's hard to resist that, but the thing is, there's nothing to really come out with. The only thing you can do, or we do, is we may come out with an additional color or a different material, but materials get very expensive. We work in ostrich, shark skin, genuine shell cordovan. We did use elephant for a while, but we don't any longer, and crocodile. But those get up into several hundreds of dollars.
Right.
And
right.
That's not for everyone. But as far as new styles go, there really isn't a lot that can be added for carrying a gun. The holsters that you have all the way down inside your pants, and you got to rip your shirt up and pull them out of your pants. That's not going to be a 1.5 second center hit at breath distance. It's just not.
Exactly.
So you shouldn't be using it.
You hit on something else there, talking about cost. And we've a couple of different instances of late where we have brought up the fact that why do people spend $1,000, $2,000, sometimes $5,000 on a pistol, and then you see it in a $10 nylon holster? What is wrong with people? That's a rhetorical question. But when people say your holsters, they're certainly not a $29.95 nylon job from the big box store. If people bring up price, how do you respond to that?
Well, the bottom line is you get what you pay for most of the time. Not all of the time, but most of the time. And for me, the perfect holster is as a holster that has a nice lining on the inside, not necessarily a suede lining, but a smooth lining. Everything is stitched properly and solid, and it's $200 and it's worth every penny. There's nothing you can really talk about to someone. If they just don't get it, they don't get it. We do have a lower price point line, which has less of the handwork and just as good a holster, and they're around $110, $120.
Yeah.
But after that, the bottom line is not everyone's going to be a customer.
Exactly.
I mean, McDonald's sells billions of hamburgers every year, but that doesn't mean they're food.
And I've eaten McDonald's, but sometimes you want a good quality steak that sticks with you, and that's the category I would put Mitch Rosen in. Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, nice filet. But there's really not much else you can do with price. I'm not going to cheapen it. I'm not going to use cheaper materials. We only use the best materials you can get. The veggie tanned leather, high quality leather, and linings and all of it. And we don't make anything else. I can't make something that'll sell for $29 and make millions of them. It's just not what we do.
Well, and I recently was at a factory tour for someone in the industry. I won't even say who, but they were pointing out that they've gone down the road of trying to fight the price wars and do the price point stuff. And they've realized there's no win in that. China will beat you on price every single time. So you might as well stick with what you know and do it right. Sounds like that's kind of your philosophy.
Absolutely. They will do that. When I was in the bag business with my dad, as I mentioned before, that's exactly what happened. We were selling low-end products. At that time, I'm talking about the 60s, China would be out with it within about 6 weeks for a third of the price retail, and that includes the cost of it, the shipping of it, and everything.
Yeah.
And you can't try to fight with that.
Yeah.
You won't make any money, and you won't make a good product.
So when folks talk to you, what are some of the basics of selecting a holster when you're talking to a possible customer?
Yeah, okay. First thing I would ask them is what training level they have. And that would determine part of where we go with it. And then I need to know your height, weight, and waist. I would want to know what type of work you do and what you do with your day, how you dress, what type of clothing you wear generally. And very important is, do you plan to carry this all the time? Or are you only going to carry it in dangerous places? Because if it's only in dangerous places and you know that, then I want stock tips for where the market's closing on Friday. And usually people will go, talk to you about that. And the people that kind of think it's intrusive, well, I can't help them.
Yeah. Yep. And I suppose you're like a doctor when they give you their waist size and you go, okay, now what's really your waist size?
Oh, yes. I guess the best story about that is a woman came in, actually several people came into the place, and one of the women wanted to order a belt, and she tried the belt on, and it was, let's say, a 36. And she said, well, no, that can't be because I'm a 28. I said, well, it measures up here. I'm a 28. Okay, no problem. So we took the order and we made her the correct size, which was 36, and we marked it 28, and everybody was happy.
Wow.
We shipped it out.
Hey, good customer service.
She got a size 28 belt that fit on a 36 waist.
Yeah. I pity the next person that's trying to fit her for a belt.
Yeah, well, that was a very long time ago. But it's funny. The people will do that. You'll ask them for their size, and you say, well, did you look at the directions on the website? It used to be in the catalog. We had a beautiful catalog, but we do mainly website now. And the answer will be, I'm 67 years old, and I know what size belt I wear.
Okay.
All right. Would you humor us and just try it? And we've been getting, they send it back, and we correct it. But now we're starting to have a send back fee for something like that because we have a new website, actually, that's going to be launched next week.
Ah, excellent.
And on it, when it comes to the belt section, we said we won't take a belt order unless you check off the fact that you've read the instructions on how to measure. And if it's incorrect, there's going to be a charge to send it back and replace it. I mean, we want them to get the right size, but we don't want to be making 2 belts for each order because you didn't give us the right measurement.
Well, exactly. So when people are searching for a holster, what do you think the biggest misconception or misunderstanding or just wrong thinking that goes with selecting a holster?
Well, there's so many options there. It's about what gun you're going to carry. What size gun are you going to carry? And if you want to carry a Desert Eagle, I try to talk them into something else because we don't do it for that. But it's really how you dress, what your waist size is, what your hip size are, male or female. Women have different needs for holsters, just based on the fact that their torso is usually shorter and generally have wider hips. So the positioning of it will be in a different place. So I want to talk to them about that, and I want to make sure that they know that they know that information so they can give me an accurate reading as to what they're going to do. And then again, what they do for a living and what they're going to be doing during the day. And we try to convince people that you're better off with a mid-size handgun than a teeny one or a large one.
Yeah.
And if they get all that, that's fine. The tiny ones are fine. I mean, we all enjoy our J-frames, and probably if you've been shooting a while, can hit no problem with them. But they are challenging.
Yes, absolutely.
If you don't know how to shoot or you're new at it, they're very challenging, and they have a bit of recoil. And then the big ones shoot terrific, but you can't carry them. So I try to convince people to go mid-size.
Well, you didn't do very well with Roy Huntington, because we just, on our Gun Cranks videos, we just talked about how when he was, I believe, a Chula Vista Reserve in California many years ago, his backup piece was a 6-inch Model 29.
Well, yeah, but that's different.
That's Roy.
Yeah. And that's a good backup, too.
Oh, absolutely. It'll get the job done.
Yeah. But what was the main gun now? What was the duty?
I forget. Gun? Probably a Model 19 or 66 or something like that. So that was the little gun. Then he wanted to bring the big gun into play, but never got to.
Yeah, that's. I didn't know that. I have to talk to him about that.
Exactly. Getting back to holsters. So, I got to ask. It's the same in all across industries. How is supply? Is it better? Is it worse? Has leather costs gone up? I guess I've not heard raw materials in your section of the industry.
Definitely. Yeah, has gone up for sure. Everything's gone up. We get letters of semi-annual, more or less, about the cost of leather going up, and they're very nice. They send us a nice letter telling us all the details that aren't really necessary to know. And then the bottom is like, in any case, it's 20% more.
Wow.
So, okay, or whatever it is. I don't know if it's that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, things have gone up. They do go up. They really do. And what's gone up even more so is cost of labor. Things have been really difficult, particularly the past year, when we had people staying home and being paid by the government for 2 years for not working, and then coming back, and the whole job market changed. And if you pass by I don't know about where you live, but around here, I think that what's that coffee joint? I'm losing it. The fast coffee place offering $19 an hour.
Oh, Starbucks, yeah.
Well, okay, the other one, Dunkin' Donut.
Oh, okay.
Dunkin' Donut, that's a big one here. And Starbucks is here too, but it's true, and they're offering a lot of money to do that. And what state are you in?
I'm in Indiana.
Indiana, okay. How is labor cost over there?
It's going up like crazy. Same thing. I don't think we're quite that level, but when I'm looking at serving coffee instead of being an editor of a national magazine, something's out of whack. But I don't know. That's a really big cost. And the thing is, you can't just keep raising prices on the product. I mean, you can, but it's a very difficult balance to have to keep. Yeah.
But yeah, leather's up, and so is everything that goes, dyes and thread and everything. And, you figure, it's just thread. Well, yeah, it's just thread. But if you're buying a lot of it, it's a lot of money.
Exactly. Well, okay, now it's fess up time, and I'm going to put you on the spot. I know you do a lot of testing and evaluation. You're always reevaluating your product line and trying to think of better, faster ways to do things. Have you ever had any major fails that never made it to the market that in hindsight are pretty funny?
No, I really didn't. I'll admit to one thing. I won't name names or anything, but we did try to put a plastic part at the bottom of a pocket holster once. And it was against my better judgment, but it seemed like if you didn't have plastic on your rig, it wasn't considered current and modern.
Right.
And I sent it off to the buyer, and it was looked at, and they said, that is off-brand, and they sent it back.
Oh.
And I'm so glad they did.
Wow.
That was the one thing, but it was done. I thought about it a lot and said, I don't really want to do this, but maybe we should.
Yeah. And
that was the one time I kind of caved a little bit to current trend of plastic.
Yeah.
And it just didn't, it's not what we do. I've had other ideas that maybe were not practical, but never got to the point of manufacturing it and it not going anywhere. So I'm really tight with the products I will make. Basically, if I'll use it, I make it. If I'm not going to use it, if I won't use it, I won't make it.
And where do you get your inspirations for all this? Obviously you're a CCW person and you've got law enforcement background. Most of the ideas come from you or outside or a mix, or when you're in the shower, how's that work out?
Most are basically my own, with some that I've seen and feel I can improve on. We had a couple of original items. The ARG goes back to 91, which is the very first thing. I was over at Ayub's place. Mas used to live right down the block here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was over there one day. I had just started, and he said, hey, why don't you take the attachment loop and move it to the side so it's not right on top of the gun. And that would give it a flatter profile. And I made a sample for him that night for Browning High Power.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a new item that had never been done before. It was copied immediately. As soon as it showed up in a magazine, it was copied.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was, but other than that, a lot of the products have kind of been around for a while, the different types. And I look to make them smaller in material and better in function.
Mm-hmm.
But to say there was completely original ones, there are a few. I'm trying to think of offhand what would be specifically 100% never been seen. I can't think of exactly what that would be.
Well,
offhand.
As they say in the gun industry, every revolution was actually designed by John Moses Browning. So,
yeah, well, he certainly gets a lot of credit for that stuff, and deservedly, Yeah, it worked. But it's amazing that the 1911 has maintained that sort of following forever. And you have these $5,000 1911s.
Yeah.
That's something I will mention to people if they talk about it and they're new. It's like, you don't need a $3,000 or $5,000 pistol to have safety in your house with your family. You know what I mean? You really don't. I mean, they're nice, but you can do that with a $1,000 pistol or an $800 one.
Yeah. I believe it was Colonel Cooper that said, just owning a piano doesn't make you a musician. So
exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You can have a violin, but can you play it?
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing.
So put on your crystal ball or your wizard cap. And what do you see in the future of holsters and leather holsters and what I'd call more traditional styles?
I think that the traditional leather holsters will be gaining in popularity again after people have their run of plastic holsters and get some training. I've actually seen people talking about how leather holsters are dangerous. Oh. And they then show a poorly constructed leather holster, and they put a gun in it and they turn it over and it drops out, which leads me to this upside down absurdity test. That's a test of nothing. A correctly formed holster, correctly fitted holster on a belt with a tensioned belt isn't coming out. Mm-hmm. The gun's not going to come out. It has to be done that way. So I don't understand why they do that, but I guess it's to draw some attention to something they're going to sell after that. Yeah. But I do see the holsters continuing to gain in popularity, the quality ones. But again, it always goes back to education.
Mm-hmm.
People need to be educated and understand how things work. And when they walk into a store and take a pistol and try to put it in the holster and it's tight, they go, well, this doesn't fit. It does fit. You need to break it in. However, we live in a time now where when people buy shoes, they're not really buying shoes. They're buying leather sneakers. It's all sneaker construction now. In the industry, they were always referred to as brown sneakers. I'm going back 20 years. Because there's no outer sole and midsole and stitched down sole. You know what I mean? It's not really lasted.
Yeah.
It's just a sneaker, but the top is leather instead of canvas. If you look at most of the shoes you have, we all have them.
Yeah.
It's all sneaker construction. And that's an interesting point I just made, but I have no idea why.
Well, I was going to say, you did hit something that we discussed before we got started that I did want to hit. Your holsters require BreakIn. That's something that is just almost unheard of in this day and age. Talk a little bit about that and why that is necessary and how you recommend people do it.
Sure, exactly. And that was the point. Thank you. The holsters fit for a specific firearm, one only. It's not going to fit more than, it'll fit as many as you want of the exact same model, but it will not fit two different models and lengths and widths and that sort of thing. And the holster will be tight. And what you want to do is ease the gun in as far as you can and keep doing presentations with it while you have the holster on the belt.
Mm-hmm.
And we do offer a product that we manufacture called Leather Lightning, which was designed specifically to do that. It was formulated by a chemist who was in the industry and also was a shooter and came up with this idea. And that goes back ages ago. And we bought the rights from him and his son, et cetera. But this is going back 35 years. We manufacture it. And it's a very slippery material, liquid, that doesn't harm anything. It doesn't soak into the leather or it doesn't harm the firearm finish. It just wears off. But so what you do is you're going to put the holster on and you're going to push down on the gun. It doesn't have to go all the way down. As far as it can, and you do like numerous presentations, and each time it's going to go down a little bit further, and then ultimately you'll get it fully seated, and it'll be tight to draw, and you'll wear it, and as the holster starts to form more to your body, it'll get easier to draw and still maintain the security of keeping the gun in.
Yeah.
That's really the only way to break it in. Putting it in the freezer with plastic is not a way to do it. Putting it in the oven, all of these other things you see.
I've heard them all.
Rubbing someone... espouses olive oil on the inside. I like olive oil, but I like olive oil on salad, things like that.
Not in your holster, unless it's a Beretta, right? Well, Mitch Rosen Leather, you guys, you and your associates make, again, one of the tier 1 leather holsters in the world, and I own several and very proud to own them. And how can people learn more about Mitch Rosen gun leather?
I'm going to tell you as soon as I mention also, which I didn't mention, is you must get our belt to go with it.
Ah, okay.
That's how they all work best. Belts are really important. If you don't mind me taking another minute.
Please do.
I'd forgotten. It's not so much the thickness of the belt, but the density of the leather the belt is made with. They do have to be a certain thickness, but it's the density of the leather. And that is what holds it all together. You cannot buy a belt that's made of harness leather because it's made for horses, and it's made to be softer and flexible for the horse.
Something I didn't know.
Yeah, harness leather is nice for harnesses and that sort of stuff. You want a very dense, hard leather that keeps its shape, because when you draw your pistol, you don't want the holster collapsing, because you will probably not have two hands to put your gun back with, and you shouldn't be doing that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the short belt story anyway. If they want to find us, we're at mitchrosen.com. We also have a YouTube channel with some videos on it. And we also have Instagram, which is a new thing for us. And I'm still trying to figure out what the whole deal of it is. But the people that do it for us seem to know, and that's good enough.
Yeah.
I think you need to be a certain age, under a certain age, to really be part of that.
I was going to say, I'm right there with you, and they tell me it's important, and they keep beating on me to do it more. So
one of these days. But, well, Mitch, I really appreciate you talking to us. I've learned a lot here, and you punctured a few of my long-held assumptions, and I thought I was pretty much up to speed. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
It was great talking to Mitch Rosen, and I can't recommend his holsters highly enough. If you like this episode, you might want to check out episode number 32 on how to find the right holster with the gun cranks. Or maybe episode number 73 entitled To Clean or Not to Clean, and episode number 101 on how to kill your holster with famed holster maker Doc Baranti. If there's a topic you want to hear, somebody you want us to interview, or you want to share your thoughts, please drop me a line. That's editor@gunsmagazine.com. As always, you can subscribe to us on your favorite podcast directory, such as Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Audible, and several others. And you can always get the latest episode on YouTube and at gunsmagazine.com. At the same time, please subscribe to the Gun Cranks audio podcast on those same directories, or you can watch it at the Gun Cranks YouTube channel. I'd also ask you to visit our great sister publications, American Handgunner Magazine at AmericanHandgunner.com, AmericanCop.com, and take a look at our numerous special editions available for sale on our websites and at Amazon. And finally, I'd like to remind you to visit our sponsor, 4 Patriots. You can find out more about their food kits and other preparedness supplies at 4patriots.com. That's the number 4, the word Patriots, and .com. And please don't forget our supporting sponsor, iPal. Visit them at ipalusa.com. Well, that's it for this episode of the Guns Magazine podcast. For the entire staff at FMG Publications, I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat. Now get out there and get shooting.